I know that when I go live, I will make a sale. I always pick 1 to 3 hero products that I focus on during the stream. It's a combination of entertainment, it's a combination of consuming, and it's also like you're getting a demonstration. It's the best way to make a purchase. Nick, honestly, I think you were probably the first thing I came across, and you, again, seem so genuine.
What's the total GMV you've done?
Last 30 days is...
This is Jeffrey, and he made over $200,000 in GMV on TikTok Shop in just 6 months. And the way he did it is actually pretty ingenious because he goes against what majority of people are doing in the industry right now. To put into context, Jeffrey started doing TikTok Shop content and hoping that he could make maybe a couple extra $1,000 or just maybe even replace his job at the bar in LA. In fact, it actually took him 2 months just to make it into the affiliate program and get 5,000 followers just to start making sales on TikTok Shop. Luckily, that did not last too long because after studying what we teach in our content strategy, he ended up starting to make consistent income pretty quickly in almost every single week. And contrary to what you might think, he didn't do this with just the typical like posting TikTok Shop videos like most people do that earn all this money. In fact, he actually found his own unique mechanisms that allowed him to start selling products over and over and over and over again. So in this video, Jeffrey's going to break down everything that he did to make $200,000 in sales in his first 6 months, the biggest mistakes that he ended up making in that time frame, and how you can try what he's doing yourself and actually start making money today on TikTok Shop. Sweet. Jeffrey, welcome in. You've been in the community for a while, so it's kind of funny to actually see and actually get to talk to you here on an actual call. So that's awesome. You kind of started from a hosting perspective. How did you even get into being a host to start? Because a lot of people start as affiliates. You started as a host, and people oftentimes actually transition to becoming a host from an affiliate. So kind of tell me about how that kind of started.
It's kind of a funny story. I'm in Los Angeles. So we are kind of, as I'm sure many people know, we're like the mecca of a lot of those kinds of things. There's a lot of agencies out here scattered all over, and obviously, Nick, Outlandish is out here and they have their own unbelievably cool situation as well. Very unique. I was working in a bar, a bartender, and funny enough, one of the bartenders was like, I'm going to go do some live streaming. This was a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, what's that? And he was like, yeah, I'm going to sell some stuff online. And I was like, what do you got to do? It's like, yeah, you just go live and you sell some stuff. It's on TikTok. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't even have TikTok, by the way, at that time, because I had the same opinion that a lot of people still have. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm like, I don't know. It sounds like I'd be probably pretty good at that. Do they need anybody? They're like, oh, yeah, sure. It was like $30 too. I was like, I'll take $30 to talk. Cool. And I went in and just kind of met them. And it was the most like not an interview at all. It was just like, just threw me in there. And it was like, you were just, at least this place, you were just throwing it. And like the first job I did was Eufy. And it was only because I took over for a guy they sent out to China. They're like, well, he's going to China. I did that. And it just kind of started becoming like a part-time job. I would just fit it in. This agency had a lot of contracts with a lot of companies, big and small. And Eufy at the time was a big one. And that I started kind of becoming one of, if not one of the guys of kind of running their channel, like the big megas, like we're talking, big streams. And then, January came around and then somebody sent me some random video of a guy doing affiliate, and I was like, oh, it looks cool. And then, Nick, honestly, I think you were probably the first thing I came across and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And you again seemed so genuine that I was like, I don't know, fuck it, It's like, and that was kind of it. And so, but yeah, I have like about a good year and a half of like professional, well, I don't know if you want to call it professional, but live streaming experience and a lot of hours under my belt, whether it's from a company perspective, right? And now for myself, I suppose.
Wow. I really admire the fact that you have actually taken the leap to like quit your job to do this full time, because that is a huge milestone for a lot of people and they don't know when to kind of make that leap. So I actually find that very, I guess, valuable information because a lot of people don't do that.
I'm lucky, I think, in some ways, in the sense of I've always lived a pretty kind of crazy life. I'm an actor, so like I'm used to going from job to job, and I've never really made a lot of money on my own anyways.
Now, You kind of mentioned a lot about live streaming, and you have a lot of success with live streaming specifically, would you say? Or is it kind of more videos?
Lives, absolutely. Yeah. I actually did the numbers last month and it was 85%.
Wow. Okay. So with live streams, that kind of brings me into a question because oftentimes you see a lot of people who have a lot of success with videos. You have a lot of success with live streams. Now, with that, do you think that that is kind of the future of TikTok Shop, or would you say that is not really necessarily the truth for the U.S.? Because in China, it's majority live streams.
So it's a great point. Yeah. China, that is their way of life. It's amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen China, like Douyin, like Chinese streams. They're wild. In the coolest way I mean, they're a trip. If you think our lives are crazy, theirs are insane. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I really firmly believe the future is live. I believe that. That doesn't mean anything, because you've obviously been doing this as an affiliate a lot longer than I have. But I personally believe that. But I also, as a person, believe you got to trust where the energy's coming from. Right? My videos are just, even though I put out about 5 to 20 a given day, it varies. It's not consistently, but a decent amount. And I got to trust that, the videos, they're not happening yet. And I know that when I go live, I will make a sale, whether it's one or a lot. It feels like I have a little bit more control in a live room because if someone's in there, I can control it a little bit better as opposed to a video. I control nothing really. There's obviously a couple examples for me that kinda changed it, but, yeah, at least to me and as a consumer too, I feel like there will be fatigue from videos, especially kind of the same thing over and over again of like, this is that hook, this is that hook. Even though, again, they might be successful, I do think unless there's more limitations on how videos can be presented to where it's like, you have to stop doing that. Like, there's restrictions on that. Because at a certain point, right, like the videos are going to oversaturate it. And I do feel like I don't know exactly what's going to come in the coming months of all of this, but I do think like it's modern day QVC. I just don't see that like it's successful, right? And as a country and in general, like if something is successful, you're going to attack that. And China has done something that we still haven't even really tapped into yet. I mean, even Amazon wants it. They just have no idea how to do it, and they try. They just haven't integrated it like TikTok has, if that makes sense. I really do think whether it's gonna still be TikTok or not, that is not going away because it's fun. It's a combination of entertainment. It's a combination of consuming, and it's also like you're getting a demonstration. It's the best way to make a purchase for the most part, because if you were going to buy it anyways, like you get to actually see it being used and shown how it works. So like, why would you not want to do that? And it's cheaper. So, yeah, it just feels like that's makes sense to me at least.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, there's so many times where I want to buy a product, but I want to watch a video about it or see somebody use it. And if like I can go on a live stream and specifically ask the person to do something with the product to see if it fits my needs is like so much more different for a buying or a consumer kind of mentality. And I can definitely see live streaming being the future for everything and this affiliate world just growing because of it. So I really think that's a good point. What was let's kind of dive into what is it about your live streaming? Because there's obviously something that you do. There's a lot of affiliates out there that kind of don't see success with live streaming. What is it about your lives that convert so well?
That's a good question. I mean, first off, I still think mine could be better. I still have a long way to go. Like, I worked alongside a guy who's professionally, like, that's what he would do in China. He was putting together these live sets, and I have seen really good live sets. So I have seen it. It's just, for me, I just, there is a little bit of that with affiliates where I think it actually works in some ways too, because they're like it wants to also kind of feel like it's a real person as opposed to this really fancy set where it's like, do you even use that product, man? It's consistency for me. It's like, it's really being consistent. I will say that being trained the way that I have been, I want to be careful because like I am honest when I do these lives, but I also know how to to convert. So, I am honest and like I'm never lying because I never promote anything that I don't like. So I don't do that. There might be certain things about a product that I'm like, yeah, and I am honest about it too, where I'm like, this, I wish this wasn't happening. But if there's certain mechanisms to a live stream in terms of how to be success like, I guess for me, like, how I know I can always make a sale is things that should be I would say I mean, I don't wanna be instructing, that's not but at least let me just say for me, these are the things that I know that have been successful for me, is having all the things ready to go, like knowing what coupons I have, which I can't know until I start. So, I have to know that. Here's one thing, I'm not trying to teach anybody anything, but one thing that I have noticed which blows my mind is how many affiliates or how many people live stream and their camera is backwards. It blows my mind. I'm like, that to me, and maybe people don't care, but I'm like, how do you not know how to unmirror your phone? Like, you gotta do that. And if it's one thing, if it's like a $2 product, but like, some of the products I run are higher price point. Like, if it's backwards, like, that just looks terrible. That's one thing, I'm sorry, I have to say that because I've noticed it so much that I'm just like, man, you gotta learn how to figure that out. But, I always know my coupons. I check my prices. I make sure I know all the prices of everything. I know what the price is outside of platform, like in the shop, and then also outside of platform. I really try to make sure I find products that are also on Amazon, so I can use that to my advantage, because I want someone to say it's cheaper on Amazon, because I know it's not, and that helps me, because I can be like, "Oh, actually, it's funny that you said that." So, coupons, knowing the warranty, knowing the return policy, which is usually 30 days, that never changes. And then this is a big one, is which does usually convert a lot of the times, especially if someone's on the fence, is the payment plans. I don't know if that's a common thing. I don't know. I'm just saying for me, that's how I make a lot of the I don't know situation. I'll wait until next week, or I don't get paid until Friday. This is terrible. I'm sorry, but this is what I do. But I say I'm like, well, it is interest-free payments. So what's the difference from paying a fourth of that right now and you get paid on Friday, which is 3 days from now, to make that sale. So yeah, for me, it's like I always pick about, 1 to 3 hero products, I suppose, that I focus on during the stream. I fill the cart. I don't fill it to the point of like overfill because some people do that. And I kind of pay attention to it is challenging, but I try to pay attention a little bit to the statistics, the analytics of where are people clicking and what are they looking at. And now there's a new thing which is really helpful where it tells you what someone's looking at in real time, which is super, super helpful. So I don't have to do as much work. I can kind of be like, oh, I see they're looking at this. So yeah, picking a couple products, focusing on those, and then being okay shifting if needed. And then a lot of testing, a lot of testing.
That's what I was about to ask is do you do a lot of testing with different products and seeing like kind of what sticks early on, or do you kind of just like hammer on this one product you just know converts?
No, actually, you know what? That's probably something I could be better at is I had up to this point, I have only run products that I feel like running. I don't pay attention to viral products. Honestly, I try to focus on higher price point items on lives. That's the goal for me is I don't really want to be dealing with lower price points. Those are okay for videos because those can convert a lot better. But like my specialty, I guess if you want to call it that, I don't know, is that I focus on anything up from 200 and up. That's what I try to look for. And I've had success with that. And a lot of people don't believe, and that was the reason why I went to China as well, actually, was showing these sellers it can be done, that you can sell high price point items on TikTok, because that's kind of, people don't think that's possible, but they do it. And it happens. It happens a lot, actually. Not just me personally, but I'm just saying in general, like people are willing to pay money if the product is good, because I'd rather not do as much work. In terms of like, if I sold one $300 product, I'd have to sell 10 of that $30 product. And so, but it is testing, and kind of trusting what's worked for me. But then maybe at finding, like you were saying, what are the products that are going viral? Like obviously goalie's viral, but I'm not interested, and so for me at least. And so obviously I know, like blanking on his name right now, but he's doing incredible with it. But, for me, I was like, that's just not true to me. So it's like kind of like a mixed bag, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a huge amount of like actual success that comes from a product you actually believe in because you naturally feel more inclined to talk about it in certain ways and have certain inflections and tonalities that you normally wouldn't with a product you actually don't enjoy, you know? That's kind of how I generally see it.
Yeah, and you can always create virality or however you pronounce that. Like, that's the other thing too, is it's like this one product that I have is like, I took it from 3 sales and it's in the hundreds territory. It's a higher price point item, but like, you can also be the one. I also think that's a strategy, and I try to focus a little bit more on that, is being before it as opposed to being late to it. It's hard to get all these samples in time before, the wave has passed, as opposed to you're the one that's creating the wave. That's easier said than done because it may not happen. But some products, like the one that I'm thinking of, is like, I knew that it would, but, I don't have that feel. Sometimes I feel that way with those things too, and it didn't happen. But yeah, I think for me, as you were saying, like, you're gonna know if you're genuine, and it's so much easier to not. And I'm not selling. I don't like that idea. I'm not selling. I'm talking about something that I really like and I believe in. And but then I know the mechanisms I have available to me of how I can get somebody else to maybe try it out. And there's a lot of those things where it's like it's never a concern. I try not to ever sell, things that don't have a return policy unless it's consumable, which I don't usually run those live because obviously you're waiting for a violation to probably happen. And then also just they're challenging and, having that return policy is nice.
What products do you generally recommend for people who are beginners?
What a great question. Well, I think it already kind of what you said was, and you say this in your course, is, looking around the house and finding things that you already have in your home that are potentially on TikTok. It's like, and just, I definitely think, as opposed to trying to chase this, like, well, this is what everybody else is doing. And it is a good system, I think, but you are, I think, in the grand scheme of things, in the long run, I'm going to find probably more success if you find something that you yourself like and run with. But I do think some of the experience that I've had too is I'm okay with no one being in my live room. A lot of people have problems with that. I think that's the biggest thing is people, it seems like, and again, people will bail early and it's hard. It is hard. And my natural, like one of my skills, and it was my thing in high school, is I can talk forever. It's a terrible habit, but I can. And so I have no problem talking to air. Like, commit me to the psych wards, fine. But that's another thing too that I really try to do my best is please talk, please ask me questions, because it helps too. And people are afraid to ask questions in live rooms, which is interesting.
What do you generally do about fatigue? Because you kind of just mentioned something similar to that. How do you deal with fatigue?
I mean, like fatigue, like petering out, or like in what way fatigue?
Fatigue as in, how do you deal with fatigue when it comes to like, you're sitting on the live for, an hour and you're only getting 3 viewers consistently. What do you do in these situations where you're like, I'm showing up, but nobody's kind of showing up for me?
Okay, great question. Yeah. I think the general rule of thumb, especially starting out to build that audience, because in the beginning for me, it was no different, right? Is you got to clock, it's probably uncomfortable, but you got to clock an hour and a half. You get a wave on the an hour 30 mark. So you got to push. And you are rewarded by TikTok at a certain point, even whether it's in that one live or not, by continuously showing up. Right. So I do think like your minimum has to be an hour, like an hour and a half. Just hit it. And if nothing else, like move on. But one thing, kind of what you're saying too, is, and it's kind of coming to me as well, is it might help in the beginning phases, whether you sell anything or not, is finding high traffic, somewhat viral items to put in your shopping cart. And I think, I'm sure you know this, but no matter what, whether it's pinned or it's not, that product is going to lead somebody into your channel. So if like I put a soda can, even though it's not the thing I'm talking about, if someone was looking up that soda can and they search it, it will still take them into my live, even if it's the thing that's pinned or not. So it might be helpful too for new people that are just starting out to maybe find products that are pretty viral and just putting them in the shopping cart, at least 10. And because you still need to test, right? You still need to give yourself like, a good like 10 to 20 minutes on a product or so to just see what happens. Because you'll know, because even if the thing too is in the beginning, I still was able to convert with 10 people. So it doesn't really matter how many people are in my room. I'm still going to most likely get 1 or 2 out of it. That's the other thing too, is it doesn't matter how many people are in your room. I've put up relatively good numbers with average of 10 people in the room. So that's another thing to keep in mind too, is you do not need hundreds of people to get, thousands of dollars at all, right? It's nice. It feels like people like you, but I actually have probably put up bigger numbers with like 10 to 20 people than 100 to 200. So that's maybe something else to keep in mind too, is don't let that throw you off, because that's what you can focus on them. That's 3 people. It's much easier to pay attention to 3 people than it is to 100 or 200 people. So, pay attention to them, call them out. That's called roll call, is what I've learned is if there's 20 or less people in your room and no one's talking to you, click on it and see who's in there. Start saying their names down the line and get at least 2 or 3 of them to respond, because they're there. So that's one little trick that can help too, is even if it's 3 people, call them out. And not call them out like, "What the hell? What are you doing in here?" Like, welcome them and create a vibe and create a room like you wanna hang out. So, it doesn't matter if there's 3 or thousands.
Wow, that's awesome. So, last and final question for you, and then we'll kind of open it up here. Last and final thing, if you were comfortable with it, kind of sharing your numbers that you've done. I guess what is the most amount of sales that you've done in the past? What's the total GMV you've done?
So 30 days, unfortunately, yesterday was terrible, so that kind of is unfortunate, but last 30 days is, 106,000. But I don't have any reference points, so I don't to be completely honest with you, I don't know what's considered good or not.
This is awesome. Really good talk. I think there's a lot of value, especially in the live stream side, that we honestly never really talk about as much, because so many people kind of dive heavy into the videos. So it's really good to talk about this stuff, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
I listen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. Nick, Mike, and Austin, you guys are awesome people. I don't know if this has helped for anybody else, but like, if there's ever a doubt, like, y'all have, also in a way really changed my life. So I can't tell you how honored I am just to even be able to. I don't know what I'm sharing, if it's useful at all, but like, thank you so much for thinking of me. So that in itself, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you so much.
Now, Jeffrey is just one of hundreds of success stories that we have collected from Affiliate Formula, which is our paid small group mentorship program where we teach beginners and honestly even experienced content creators on how to make money and keep making money on TikTok Shop. So if you're even 1% interested or curious about how we do TikTok Shop and how this small group mentorship might be a good fit for you, I'll have that in the description down below. And if you want to keep learning the ways to improve your TikTok Shop content on this YouTube channel, feel free to subscribe and watch this video next.